Okay, hi, welcome. We're going to take a look at the concept of economic inactivity in the labour market. It's highly topical at the moment, and we're going to look at a question built around some data. Here's the question. Examine two possible causes of a fall in the rate of economic inactivity in the UK labour market. You can see our chart here showing the inactivity rate has declined from about 23.5% in 2010 down to around 21.5%. That's people of working age who are not in work or actively seeking work. I mean, that's quite an important definition. Economically inactive people are those people without a job, but also who are not seeking work or not available to start work, for example, in the next 2 weeks. Typically, they tend to be full-time students or people looking after family and home, people with a long-term chronic illness, or people who are temporarily sick. Perhaps also includes people who've taken early retirement and people who have given up the search for work. Perhaps they've been long-term unemployed for a length of time. So we're asked to think about the causes of a fall in inactivity. It's an 8-mark question, so we just have to identify and explain and evaluate a couple of factors for the 8 marks. And the crucial thing is to evaluate the significance. We'll come to the evaluation in a second. I've put down here 5 factors. I'm sure there are many more which might help explain the fall in inactivity. One is the rise of self-employment. Nearly 15% by some estimates of the employed labour force now are self-employed in some shape or form. And of course, in recent times, we've seen the fast growth of the so-called gig economy. People working for businesses such as Uber or Deliveroo or Hermes and many other kind of online digital platforms where you can earn some money for doing a gig. This increases the opportunities for highly flexible, often part-time work, not just for younger workers, not just for students, but also maybe people who've taken early retirement. The second reason why there are more people active and fewer people inactive could be that the minimum wage has gone up more than inflation, and in fact more employers now are paying above the minimum wage. Perhaps they're choosing to opt to include the living wage, and so therefore the pay of taking a part-time job or an hourly paid job has gone up. That increases the incentive to work and also perhaps reduces the risk of the poverty trap, which can sometimes cause people to stay outside the labour market. Another factor is that for people who've taken early retirement, people thought they could retire on their pension. They have found that the pension incomes, the annuities people can buy, have collapsed, in part because interest rates have been very low. People have taken the decision to retire early, find their pensions insufficient, perhaps insufficient to pay for caring for an elderly relative, and they've decided to re-enter the labour market and try and earn some extra income. The government, as a supply-side policy, has also expanded free childcare, which is now universally available to all 3 and 4-year-olds, and also some 2-year-olds, depending on certain categories, means-tested benefits, and certain income groups. So the rise of free childcare may have encouraged more young mums to come back into the labour market. And generally, of course, the labour market's been doing pretty well in recent times. There's been a big fall in unemployment, down to 4.2%. There's nearly 750,000 unfilled job vacancies. So there are plenty of jobs out there for people who decide they want to become active again in the labour market. So lots of reasons you could pick out. You just need to pick out 2 and explain using a chain of reasoning why that's reduced inactivity. Then, of course, you have to evaluate. This is a national figure. This chart is a national figure. We know there are big regional variations in economic inactivity. The economy's been doing well in recent years. The employment rates are record high. There's no guarantee that economic inactivity will continue to fall. If the economy goes into a sticky patch, a slowdown perhaps, or maybe a recession, that could increase inactivity again. There are also some long-term worries about the rise of chronic illnesses, which might cause inactivity to rise further in the years to come. So to evaluate, you could make a comment on which of these factors you've explained is most significant. Use your contextual knowledge, for example. Which of these causes you've explained have been the result of a positive factor, for example, free childcare, and which of them has been the result of a negative factor, fall in pension incomes? Can the fall in inactivity be sustained? How much further can unemployment fall? Are there limits to how much the minimum wage can rise before businesses start to complain about higher costs? Any relevant evaluation point will be credited by the examiners. A couple of interesting news stories recently. Of course, there's been a big increase in sort of big variation in inactivity by regions. And one of the big issues is chronic health problems. Some parts of the UK, the years of healthy life expectancy are way below other parts of the country. So health starting to fail at 47 in parts of Blackpool and Middlesbrough, whereas people living in London, for example, or the leafy parts of Cheshire, for example, might be expected to live healthily for 3 decades or more. So big regional variations in life expectancy and also inactivity. And it's possible, of course, for unemployment to go down and economic activity to go up, but there are some parts of the country where there has been recently a rise in inactivity, which has kind of bucked the national trend. And a good example of that is Northern Ireland. The northeast of England has also seen something similar, where despite the national inactivity rate going down, some parts of the UK, some regions of Britain have seen an increase in inactivity. And of course the data we're given in the exam didn't show that, so you can evaluate that. Okay, inactivity is not a topic that lots of students study, but hopefully quite an interesting and important topic for you as part of your labour market economic revision.